Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on SOC2 Type 1 and Type 2. We've had quite a few queries on the questions, that about audit questions, about session questions, and we got so many, very relevant, possibilities also for a webinar. And this is what was, being faced by quite a few of our viewers, even by our clients, on how to prepare for an audit for SOC 2. As you're aware, at this time, it is one of the largest, standards to be implemented across the world. That people are looking up to, and and they are looking forward to something like a SOC 2 compliance. So it becomes very difficult, for companies to prepare, especially if they're doing it for a first time. So that's where this session on SOC 2 Type 1 and Type 2, how to prepare for an audit, came up. So you've been as relevant as possible with regards to the content, and please keep the questions flowing. So let's get started right away. So these are the topics that we have mentioned as will be covered, and we are covering many areas pertaining to SOC 2, and pertaining to SOC 2, and I really hope that it really helps. We'll be starting from not too much of the basics, but I'll take you through the whole cycle, including the audit process, the audit checklist, and best practices. So, I really hope this helps you on that count. And again, those who, in case you're attending this webinar and you are a CISA, CSSP, or whatever, and you can use one CPA point, but you have to be there for the entire webinar. You cannot just quit somewhere in between and claim the CPE point. So please be there till the end. And of course, it's because sometimes there is an audit, and the council might ask us for confirmation on the CPE. So at that time, the team simply checks as to whether you have been there till the end. So please be there as much as possible. And of course, going ahead, there is a free informative resources. We've got maybe around 100 odd videos on various compliance topics on our channel on YouTube, and that's our channel. You can definitely click on it and subscribe, and do click on the bell icon. And we got almost 1500 plus viewers, subscribers, which is one of the highest in this area of compliance. So do go there. It's all free, and you can get access to a ton of information, including there's a playlist on SOC2. Okay, that's what I can say. There's a playlist on SOC2. What you can do is that in that, one gentleman has already put in a point on covering ISO 27001 and SOC2. So then what happens is that we can definitely do that, but not in this session, because it's already been done. And in one of the past webinars, we've already covered ISO 27001 and SOC 2. So you can go to a channel. I posted the link in the chat section of this webinar. And in case you're watching this video on YouTube, it's there in the comment, it's there in the video description. So what can happen is you can go there, you can go to the playlist of SOC 2, and there is SOC 2 and 27001. So I really hope that helps you. And these are our past webinars. Incidentally, we have completed 50 webinars. Can you believe that, guys? 50 webinars you have finished. You've been diligently doing it for more than 4.5 years. Do you know anyone else who's been doing it with this diligence and dedication? Because we really want to help the community, and there's a dearth of good information security there's a dearth of good information security compliance professionals, and you want people to come to this profession. So we give out a lot of free stuff. You can go to a blog site, and there are hundreds of articles over there, and there's so much content, so much content. We've got a team dedicated to writing just content. So these are the webinars, past webinars, and you can see it's so relevant. Seriously, do you know any other service provider or any other auditor or consultant who is putting up this level of content online? So feel free, you can go through it, and there's one webinar every month. Plus there are Ask the Experts where people ask questions. And if you go to our YouTube channel, there's an Ask the Experts playlist where there are small videos, like 5-minute, 10-minute videos answering very, very pertinent question. For example, one gentleman has posted a query now with regards to difference between SOC 1 and SOC 2. Well, I might touch on it over here, but in the Ask the Experts, there's a video just on that, because that's one of the frequently asked questions. So in case you also have any questions, do feel free to write us in, and we will definitely respond to you. Okay, as we go along, rules of the game, do type in your queries in the query box, and we'll answer as much as possible. But sometimes, that's what makes this webinars so very interesting. So sometimes, guys, the questions are just too many, and I respect, sometimes, there are just too many questions. So um, as we go along for all these past webinars, you can see there are tons of questions that keep coming in, so we can't really answer all of them. So then what happens is that we make short videos or reply to them proper directly. So feel free to share a topic of interest, and perhaps we might do it your topic might get selected for the next webinar too. And this is a brief about me. And looking at the attendees, wow, there are quite a few, and so many of them are my personal friends, and so many of them are my personal friends and also my clients and our partners. So thank you again for being there, and I really hope this becomes worth your while. So thank you again for being there. This is me. I've been in this industry for almost 27, 28 years now, and I have my own company, VISTA InfoSec, which has been around for like 17 years now. Incidentally, we completed 17 years on the 1st of December. So that's a big round of applause to our team, and thanks to God and our clients also for trusting us and helping us grow, blessing us with their presence. So okay, we are there across the world. We have our office in Canada, US, UK, Middle East, Africa, Singapore. So we work with clients across, and we are ourselves PCI SSF. We have QPA, PCI DSS, QSA. We've been voted as one of the fastest growing companies in Asia APAC. We are also ISO 27001 certified ourselves. And I'll not get into much details on this. You can visit our website to know more about our company. And this is a service portfolio. We've got compliance and governance, regulatory compliance, privacy laws, technical assessments, turnkey solutions. Again, I don't want to make this into a marketing webinar, so I will not get into the details, but we do a lot of stuff: SOC 1, SOC 2, GDPR, HIPAA, PCI DSS, MAS, DRM, PIPEDA, so many things that we do. So in PCI SSF now, we do the assessments. So these are the certification or assessment services that we provide. Okay, and these are a few of the clients that have chosen to work with us. There's a lot more. I believe the sheet is a bit old, but again, it's always such a pleasure to see their names. Okay, and we are open for partnership. We are always looking for new partners. So you can always, in case you would like to partner with us, you can go to our site and click on the link for that on partnerships. And in case if you're looking for a job, we are always hiring, because God's grace, we are closing a lot of contracts. Many people are trusting us with their critical initiatives. Do send in your resumes to hr@vistainfosec.com. You can be an experienced person, you can be a beginner, or you want to change your career. So we are there with you in case you are able to crack the interview. I look forward to working with you. All right, so at the end of this webinar, there will be there is a service participation. Put in a lot of time and money on this webinars. Please do, you know, leave your feedback with us. Let us know what you think about the webinar, how it went, and what are your comments, your expectation in case I was not able to do very well. So in that case, what I could have done to make this a better success. So do share your feedback. All right. So coming to the where the rubber hits the road with regards to SOC 2, a brief introduction. So we have intentionally used to be technically precise the word attestation because it's not really a certification. A certification is something, you know, that you pass or fail. All right, let's get this thing very clear. A certification is something that you pass or fail, and SOC 1, SOC 2, these are all attestations where the you cannot really fail a SOC 2 attestation. The auditor simply gives his views on you know, his your readiness or your compliance with specific control requirements. And there might be exceptions, so he might note that, but there is nothing like somebody failing in a SOC 2 audit because there is nothing called as a certification. It's just an attestation. I wouldn't say just an attestation because if the auditor even notes exceptions or gives a poor view of your readiness for SOC 2 or of your compliance to SOC 2, you're as good as not being there, and none of your clients will even accept your report. So anyway, so coming to the basics, it was basically a compliance requirement SOC 2 for North America concerning your organizational system controls and processes. It was floated by the AICPA, American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, on how organizations should manage service organizations. Okay, it is only for service-based organizations. So if you're not a service-based organization, then this certification or its attestation doesn't really apply to you. So, you know, it basically describes the effectiveness of the service organization system and controls based on the AICPA guidelines and trust services principle. We'll get into what is trust services principle later on also, but you can quickly go through it over here. There is the 5 trust principles: security, availability, process integrity, and confidentiality, privacy. So these are the 5. We'll get into that, but again, I cannot do a full-fledged webinar just on these trust principles because we've already done quite a few. You can, again, as I said, go to our YouTube channel, go to the playlist of SOC 2, and you'll see a lot of more information over there. Okay, there are some questions coming in. Okay, all right. Well, I'll get into that. Now, it is not a mandate, but it's a voluntary practice. But again, it has caught on so well because the standard is so well written that most companies will not agree to work with you unless you know unless you are SOC 2 certified. So just stick with that. So that is where the mandate comes into place. It's not just a good to have place. Many companies are demanding it, even in the RFPs. You know, in the tenders, they are asking for SOC 2 certification or attestation. Sorry, audit and attestation. Okay, so it is based on the unique security requirements of an organization. So I cannot, you know, it's very exhaustive. But you know, there are almost across all the requirements. There is, you know, there is, you know, across all the organizations, across all the trust services principle, there is more than 480 requirements. If I break it down, it's like 600 requirements, right? So, okay, there is a nice question. Can a CISA certified professional attest? No. You can't. Again, in our YouTube channel, again, and ask the experts who can audit and who can attest. We have written. The big joke why I'm taking this question is that we have seen clients where CISA and even chartered accountants have attested SOC 2's, you know, audits, SOC 2 reports, and that is against the very essence of AICPA. guidelines. You need to have this done by a AICPA registered and certified CPA, certified public accountant. There is no way around this. Okay, I'll get into that more in detail. So, typically speaking, companies that undergo SOC 2 audit are companies that are data hosting, data processing, cloud storage, and mostly cloud software as a service. So, almost 90%. We have done more than 200 plus such attestations, and as a company, 200 plus, maybe 250 something. Anyway, so we have so most of maybe 90% of our clients are software as a service based providers, and of course we do have data centers also got attested through us. We have again software development companies also doing it, and data analytical company also doing it. Cloud storage companies also have done that, but 90% of in our experience are companies who are software as a service providers. Now the service providers, the whole essence of SOC 2 is that the service provider should ensure the data transmitted, stored, processed, and disposed are AICPA SOC guidelines. Now, organizations may also perform if they suspect a data security lapse with one or more criteria at the service organization. So many a time, what happens is that clients feel that they are not safe with a particular provider. So what they do is, okay, you get certified or attested on SOC 2, and then we will talk, because they feel there's been a lapse, or maybe they're finding that particular service provider to be too, taking it easy. Okay, now coming to that same question asked by the gentleman, SOC 2 audits have to be performed by licensed and AICPA approved CPAs. Now these CPAs are third-party auditors, right, who are issuing the SOC 2 audit reports and attestation. And so it is not something that you have a CPA in your company for various accounting and financial purposes, and you tell him only to do your SOC 2. Well, that is not allowed, because that's against the conflict. That's a conflict of interest. You cannot be their internal auditor and plus their external auditor for SOC 2 also. Audit independence is a must. So SOC 2 report. So SOC 2 reports come in two types: SOC 2 type 1 and SOC 2 type 2. So in a type 1 report, it is basically, this is again, I'll quickly touch on it and move on. In a type 1 and a type 2 report. Now in type 1, they're basically checking on the on how valid or how well designed are your system designs or system controls, your policies, procedure, your control activities in accordance with SOC 2 requirements. So they'll only check on the control, on the design of your controls. They will not check into effectiveness of the controls. So in SOC 2 type 2, they look at the effectiveness of the controls. So in a sense, in SOC 2 type 1, they will not get into more of record testing or record checking, or doing a sampling of the evidence and all those things. They'll basically be looking at your control design and your policies, procedures, and all. So, but in a SOC 2 type 2, they'll basically ask for evidence. So the generally accepted norm is a minimum of 6 months evidence. It can be less also, but many auditors, including our company, do not agree with an audit period of something which is lesser than 6 months. So SOC 2 type 2 would need that minimum 6 months to give an assurance that the controls and systems are effectively performing over a period of time, right? So some companies, some clients that we have even ask for 1 year. So we do that also. Now, for many companies like healthcare firms, financial institutions, cloud computing service providers, SOC 2 report is actually coming up as a necessity. Now, again, SOC 2 type 1, again, gives a lot of benefits, because it is like checking on the design effectiveness. But because you're not checking the evidence of implementation, SOC 2 type 2 is definitely a better choice. But again, SOC 2 type 2 would take a lot of time. It will take you, if you're starting from ground zero, maybe you can look at least 10 months to a year. Anyway, so SOC 2 type 2 has a better compliance better leverage over SOC 2 Type 1 reports. And the Type 2 audit report provides a clear description with evidence to the evaluation of the company's effectiveness of the controls that has been designed, policies, procedures, SOPs, and all those things, right? So Type 2 report again gives a higher level of assurance, and Type 2 report gives a clear message that your organization has not just documented the policies and procedures and the controls, but even is implementing it very well. Okay, so Mr. Fu, a very nice question. Mr. Fu, I guess we had a meeting today morning, right? Okay. Uh, I'm happy if you are the same person that I spoke to today morning, and welcome to the webinar. Thank you for being there. Okay, your question. Must we be a SOC 2 Type 1 attested before we can go for SOC 2 Type 2? Well, that's a good point. Okay, okay, he's not the same person, but anyway, Mr. Fu, good to connect with you. Okay, SOC 2 Type 2 is not, you're not mandatory to go through Type 1 and then go for Type 2. But what happens is that it's very difficult to directly go for a Type 2, because you first have to get the control design, policy procedures design, get it approved, and then implement it consistently for a period of 6 months, and then go for the audit. So the overall time period we're looking at is at least 10 months to a year. We've got clients who've taken more than like 2.5 years, right? So in all this time, the stakeholders, the management of the company gets unnerved as to what is happening with the SOC 2. What is happening with the SOC 2? That's the question that's asked, and you have nothing to show. So what we say to our esteemed clients is that unless there's a mandate to do a Type 2, go in for a Type 1. So this typically, with the right management support, we can complete it within say 3 to 4 months. So there's something to show, and you're SOC 2 compliant, of course, Type 1. And then you've got 1 year, because see, the reports are valid for 1 year. So then you implement it consistently over a period of 1 year. The next time when you renew with us, you go for a Type 2. So that's the basic process that we that we tell our clients. Of course, it's a choice, and we've had clients who are very mature in their processes and everything, and they want to go for Type 2 directly. So fine, we are there with you on that. So you can do it. There's no mandate against it, but looking at the time constraints and keeping the ball rolling, we always suggest going for a Type 1 and not for Type 2 directly. I hope, Mr. Fu, if that answers your question. Okay, so as I said, what is written over here, so an organization that is new to SOC 2 compliance and has time budget. So this is like an answer for you. This is already documented in the slide, Mr. Fu. So they can initially kickstart the SOC 2 Type 1 in the first year, and during the next year, once you're certified or attested, you go for a readiness assessment, which we can help you do. Implement it effectively, update your policies and procedures as required, and then achieve SOC 2 Type 1 over the first year, and then in the next year you implement your policies consistently, and then go in for a Type 2 during the next year. So eventually in the later years you can try achieving SOC 2 Type 2 compliance. Of course, the last statement, for those companies that have resources, time and money and sufficiently mature, you can directly also go for SOC 2 Type 2 directly. We've had clients doing that, but not many of them are very successful, because it really takes a lot of time, really. And unless you're really having great people and great systems already in place, and you're not new to cybersecurity, I would better suggest you to go in for a Type 1. Okay, SOC 2 trust principles. These are the 5 trust principles of SOC 2: security, availability, process integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. Of this, security is mandate, means like it's not really an option. The rest are optional. Now again, optional is as per your business processes and client requirements. We've had clients where they have cut corners by just saying we'll do security and not doing anything else. They've taken the report back to their clients, and the client is saying, Oh man, what's up with you, man? You're hosting a cloud service system. So how can availability not be an issue for you? And some said, okay, you're also doing collecting personal information, or you have information about our clients, or information about our end, users, like it's a HR system or a payroll system. How can privacy not be a part of your trust services scope? So this becomes ugly. So we always suggest clients to just go for it, go for all five if you can. Um, and unless and it's not a major scale up, my friends. So for example, security to availability, process integrity, confidentiality. Hardly 5, 10 controls here I get added. It's not like it's a major add-on. And it's like 20% in security, 20 in availability, 20 in process integrity, 20 in confidentiality, and 20% no, not that's not the case. Majority, maybe 70%, 80% is in security, and then maybe 10% across availability, process integrity, and confidentiality. But privacy has quite a few controls. It is very much similar to GDPR, because even GDPR and the privacy trust principles have their roots in the GAP principle, generally accepted privacy principles. I think it was released in Canada, GAAP. You can look it up. So there are a lot of overlaps with it. So, but privacy, in case you're not coming under privacy, then you can definitely skip it. But for the other four, I would suggest you not to take a chance. So these are the trust principle, AICPA trust service principles. So again, security base, right? Everything. So it is a mandate. You cannot skip it. Now, availability is the next line. Um, then process integrity for accurate, valid, timely, meeting of objectives. Confidentiality again, remain secure to meet the entity's objectives. And last but not the least is privacy. So private information used, retained, stored, disclosed, or disposed, and of course collected, come under the privacy requirements. Okay, Miss Mary is asking, is there a set of mandatory controls available? As I said, Miss Mary, you can just go to the ICPA. You can drop me a line. I'll send you the listing if you wish. My email, I'll be showing at the end of this webinar. So you can drop me a line. I can send you, but you can download it directly from the AICPA requirements sheet. And of that, only the security that I said earlier is a mandate. This one, rest all are optional. So these are the SOC 2 audit preparation, audit and timelines. So initial kickoff, and of course, this is how it looks like. All right. So SOC 2, Mr. Wu, I hope you're there. This again hammers in the point that you asked. Thank you so much for that question, by the way. So there's an initial kickoff, and there's a preparation for your policies, procedures, and all those things. So that takes minimum 3 months. Update detailed process, employee training programs, and then maybe you'll run it for a few days or maybe a month or so, and then go for SOC 2 Type 1 audit that is optional. And then after that, you're done the SOC 2 Type 1, then you can go in for the actual document preparation and the implementation of the policies, procedures, after which the auditor will send you a list of documents for document preparation. There'll be an on-site audit which takes minimum 2 to 4 weeks. Depending on scope, that can even be more. And then final report, which again takes 2 to 3 weeks to make. And then there is an annual audit that has to happen. Because SOC 2, SOC 1, Type 2, whatever it is, the validity is 1 year only. So what can you expect? That becomes a very interesting question. What can I expect during a SOC 2 audit? So you are first required to approach an AICP approved CPA firm to conduct the audit. You can definitely speak to us, and we can help you out with that. And then you are supposed to provide the documents concerning the security program and work with the assessor to provide the evidence of the security controls. So the organization might take time to plan and prepare for SOC 2 assessment, or might face the risk of delays. So it is a pretty exhaustive process. We'll get into that again. The first thing that you need to start off is with regards to the security evaluation, how it happens. So the assessor or the auditor will first provide the organization with a set of questionnaires, a comprehensive questionnaire that comprises of various numerous questions concerning the security program, the work culture, operations, policies, infrastructure, implemented technical controls. So it starts off with that, a security evaluation or a data gathering phase. And then comes the evidence collection. Now, depending on the type, whether there's a type 1 or a type 2, the auditor will then set the evidence requirements for the audit. It could be policies, procedures, records, sampling requirements. So many possibilities are there. And then there'll be an evaluation and follow-up. So during the audit, again, the auditor might ask for additional evidence or answers to clarify questions concerning the implemented security control. And there could be multiple rounds. So it is not like an ISO audit that ends in a few days and it is fine. Here, when you're doing an audit, the auditor will be required to work with you very, very exhaustively to ensure that all the evidence is collected, because understand, his license is on the line. If in case there is a problem and somebody reports it to the AICPA, he loses license, might even get arrested. So then once the evaluation is done, follow-ups are happening, and then the recommendations and re-evaluation. Re-evaluation could be in case there are serious gaps, the auditor might want to have a follow-up audit. That is, he was not very satisfied with the effectiveness of controls. And once everything sounds good, there are no high-risk findings, there would be the report creation and attestation. Right. So this is the audit process that we follow at VISTA InfoSec. I thought let me just share it with you on how we work. No, Mr. Merchant. Okay, that's a nice question. What qualifications is required to undertake a SOC 2 audit? Either something like ISO 27001 LA. No, no. I think you joined late, Mr. Merchant. I said this very clearly in the previous slides that you need to be a AICPA approved, accredited, and an active member of AICPA as a CPA, certified public accountant. No CISA, no CRISC, no CISSP, no ISO auditor can certify a SOC 2 or do an audit of a SOC 2 requirement. No, it's okay, Mr. Merchant. No problem. I understand. Thank you all the same for being there. So the SOC 2 audit process, SOC 2 definition, understand your business processes. So see, for example, when our company is retained for a SOC 2, typically speaking, there are many things that happens, and we ask for the scoping, what all processes and what all locations, people, all those things in scope, so that you can give a proposal, right? But once they cannot share a lot of very critical or sensitive information, such as the departments and the processes and the people, process, technologies in use, everything much in detail, and who's responsible and all those things. So the project team, everything cannot be shared before a contract is signed. So once it is signed, the first thing that is we do at least is a scope definition. So sit with the client, identify the policies, people, process, technology in scope, documented, get a sign off. Very, very important. And then there's a gap analysis. So gap analysis, again, in case it's the first time you're doing this, so we might want a gap analysis to identify where you are and where you want to go. Right. So the gap analysis will tell you very clearly. Of course, it's not just a technical based audit. It is contains many other areas also. So it is not just a gap of technology, but people, process, and technology. Right. So the gaps are given, and now after the gaps are given to the organization can start fixing it. and they can start fixing it, or they can retain someone else, but many of our clients choose to retain us only. So we have a separate independent team. Our audit team is totally different, heading also of the company. With the advisory and consulting team that you have, we even help organizations formulate your policies, procedures, risk assessments, trainings, internal audits, and everything. So once the gaps are closed, then we suggest as a pre-assessment, because let's not have any surprises during the audit, and it's very well possible that once we you know start without a pre-assessment, you've taken the gap analysis, but you've not yet effectively closed the gaps. So in that case, there is a huge issue during the audit, and the auditor simply cancels the audit. So we always suggest to go for a pre-assessment, right? So, and then once the pre-assessment is completed, again, pre-assessment or gap analysis is not a mandate. Now we can start the assessment attestation after that. Um, so this will be our US-based CPA auditor will audit your processes to confirm adherence to the SOC 2 requirements. And last but not the least is the compliance, continued compliance support. So many a time the client is very upset that not our clients, other typically clients are upset that the audit is over, but then how do you manage SOC 2 across the year? So that is where our compliance services, our consulting services also comes into place, where we help them remain compliant through the year by doing all the various compliance tasks like documentation update and internal audit trainings and stuff. So I hope that explains our process. Yes. So yes, Mr. Acharya, what is the validity period of SOC 2 audit and attestation? I think I mentioned this earlier too. It is 1 year, like any sort of audit and attestation, it is 1 year. For example, even PCI DSS validity is 1 year. SOC 1, SOC 2 is 1 year. HIPAA, GDPR, it's 1 year. So except in ISO where they're doing a like a 3 year attestation, and there is a compliance audit done on the second and third year, which is more like superficial. Uh, you know, these are very comprehensive, and you're supposed to repeat the whole process again every year. So with regards to the SOC 2 audit checklist from security perspective, it is performing a penetration test, performing the vulnerability assessment. It requires from the security front to have the right firewalls, antivirus systems, intrusion detectors, multi-factor authentication tools, and of course, system application and network security measures. So from the technical front, there are quite a few things that has to be done. From the security trust principle perspective, from the availability, again, it's about performance management, incident response and management, disaster recovery and response and management, and then of course secure storage and data backups. So from the availability, as I said, if you are there are very few companies where availability is not really an issue. Whether people or process or technology, your client is expecting availability to be as your prime driver. Okay. So Mr. Nirmal is already asking, will company save time and money in case already ISO 27001 certified and looking for SOC 1 and SOC 2? Okay, again, there is a full webinar on this, guys. I'm really very much encouraging you to go to our YouTube channel and check on the webinar on ISO 27001 and SOC 2. Against very popular myth, ISO is not bigger than SOC 2. ISO is just 114 requirements, and SOC 2 is almost 480 base requirements, and total maybe 600 requirements. Now, it's not just the numbers. It's very comprehensive and extremely well written. Extremely well written. Whereas ISO 27000, I know there are many ISO stalwarts in this presentation were there, but where was the last time ISO really got a proper update? 27001. It was 2005. After 1999, it was 2005. Well, yeah, I know it is 2013 because I was there at that time. But 2013, as you know, it was more of a cosmetic, where some controls were, removed, rewritten, small things here and there, and more control objectives. And just this year, the ISO standard again released a statement that no requirement for any new updates, whereas SOC 2 is very much relevant for the current time and duration. So ISO doesn't even have controls for cloud security, BYOD, wireless. Nothing is there. Nothing is there. You can of course say that, okay, we can do a risk assessment based approach and design. Why? Then it becomes very subjective as per the consultants or as per the auditor's need. It's very subjective. But SOC 2, it is mandated what are things are required to be done. Anyway, so the overlap, assuming that you've done it in the right way, and if I'm being very generous, the overlap between ISO and SOC 2 doesn't exceed 20%. That is assuming you've done it very well. So you still have 80% to do. So that's the overlap between SOC 2 and ISO. Um, okay, confidentiality, digital access control, physical access control, network application, encryption, tokenization. Many of these things are required, not really mandated, but the language suggests these technologies, and you have to get those things in place to ensure that no exceptions are noted. Now, privacy, brilliantly noted. Now, if somebody asked me a question, what about the overlap between SOC 2 and GDPR? I would say, of course, there is. And there is a webinar on that also, and SOC 2 and GDPR. You can check that. There are some questions and ask the experts also on our YouTube channel. You can check that too. So under privacy, this is there's a huge overlap between GDPR and privacy. So I can safely say that if you are GDPR compliant, you're almost 100% compliant to the privacy requirements of SOC 2. That I can say. But if you're saying I'm doing ISO 27001 and what about SOC 2, I would say let's not even talk about it. There's nothing much to go on. But GDPR and SOC 2, just the privacy. I'm only talking about privacy, okay, not the entire SOC 2, all the trust service principle requirements. I'm only talking about the privacy requirement, trust service principle requirement in SOC 2. There's a huge overlap with GDPR. Huge, and if you've done your GDPR very well, you're as good as done with privacy. There is process integrity, again, to ensure that your input and output is matching. There is no garbage coming out, and you're ensuring that the output matches the SLAs or the commitments that you have made to your clients. Now, best practices for SOC 2 audit. This is something where we have put the juice in of all our if I can say that, our experience across hundreds of SOC 2 audits for so many of our distinguished clients. So organizations must define the scope and process for the audit. This should be the first stage before getting into the documentation of processes, aligning the security programs, because you can define your scope, right, and for SOC 2. But of course, again, not as lucidly as you might do in a SOC 2. In an ISO, where you might say that I'd only want my data center to be certified, nothing else, or only my IT team. And so of course that is not acceptable under SOC 2, because if the auditor is worth anything, he will simply refuse to accept that scope. So all the services that you're providing to the clients should be required as a part of your scope for the SOC 2 audit. And then get in the policies, creating the policies, procedures. Now the administrative, this is an administrative control. If you've done your CISSP, you know what I mean. So administrative controls of policies and SOPs is a cornerstone for any security program. You can have the finest technologies in place, but if you don't have the right policies and procedures, that is not really acceptable, right? As an auditor, I will not accept that you have all the technologies, the finest technologies in place, but you don't have policies and procedures to manage them. And of course, that is where a standard like ISO 27001 shines, because it shows you how to manage data security in your company, even though the controls or annexure A controls are extremely outdated. It's prehistoric rather. So look after, very keen that you look for your system application, network access control policies, disaster recovery policies, incident response, risk assessment, and the security controls and training policies. Understand, guys? Now, it might sound very IT, but it also looks at how you're managing your client. Let me add this thing. So it also speaks about how you're managing your data security, how your whistleblower policy, all those things are happening properly in the organization. There is a set of technical controls which is there. What technical, as I've already listed out a few in the previous slides, your technical controls, because controls have to be mandated, or enforced. It cannot be just policies and procedures. Uh, it has to be, it has to be set technical controls for any organizations. So that is where these requirements play a major role in any organization. These are a few of the technologies that is desirable, I wouldn't say mandated, in any organization for ensuring that you're able to enforce your policies and procedures effectively. Right. So there are many more requirements, and then gathering the documents and evidence. So again, as I said earlier, if there is a type 2, if there is a type 2 audit, then you need to have all the documentation in place, all the evidence for at least 6 months to be in place. And these are a few of the evidence requirements that is required to be in place for a SOC 2 audit. Third-party vendor contract, SLAs, business associate agreements, risk assessment, third-party vendors contracts. Man, it is all your technical security control documentation. Everything is required to be in place before at the time of the audit. Uh, One sec, there's just a couple of good questions. Okay. And again, just to answer your question again, somebody had asked earlier, go in for a reputed AICPA auditor only. Okay, don't go for some CPA sitting in some country, in some remote village type, whatever be the case. Uh, Go in for something that is branded and that can give the assurance to your client that you have done it in a reasonable manner. So, for example, our auditors are based in the US. We do our SOC 2 through our company in the US to ensure that you are able to give the assurance to your clients that you are in safe hands, and this has been done in a diligent manner, and the auditors can be held accountable. The company can be accountable. And last but not the least, ensure that your CPA has the right background in technology. Okay, CPAs typically have a good finance and economics and accounts based backgrounds, but AIC this for SOC 2, SOC 1, it requires a good, very good, very good understanding of security, IT working, IT information systems, information technology, the way networks work, the way data transfer happens, all those things. So don't just go in for a CPA, go in for someone who actually knows IT and has a good background. So for example, our company has all the CISA, CSSPs and all to ensure that they have the right background in data security. All right. So thank you for sharing your valuable time. This brings me to the end of the webinar. There are quite a few questions still pending, and I will answer them personally. And there's a gentle reminder for the survey as you exit. Please do, fill up the surveys and our Facebook. We are there on Facebook. You can go online and you can follow us to get the right blog post, to get the right access, timely access to our blog post and guest post. We are there on YouTube again. More than 1,500 plus, subscribers are there, and of course you're there on LinkedIn. And on an average, guys, at least one article every week is put up. At least one article every week. And so if you sign up, subscribe to a blog site, you get access to it immediately. And that's a contact info. Whatever your queries, do drop me a line and we will respond to you. If there is any queries that you might have further to that, we are more than happy to take it up with you. So I really hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry the webinar went a bit overboard, but I really hope it went well for you. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you next month with a new subject. And of course, in advance to you, a very happy new year. Have a wonderful time. Have a blast with your family. But stay safe. There's Omicron things happening, but so stay safe. But still, do not forget to enjoy. We've had 2 years of misery with COVID, so do enjoy your life and don't just remain stuck up somewhere. All right. So have a wonderful time. Drop me a line in case of anything. Take care. God bless. Bye bye.